You have few friends, maybe no close friends at all, and everyone tells you something's wrong with you. They say you're antisocial, unfriendly, cold, difficult. They say you need to be more outgoing, more approachable, more willing to connect. They act like having few friends is a character flaw, a problem that needs fixing, a sign that you're broken somehow. But they're wrong, dead wrong, because having few or no friends isn't a weakness. It's often a sign of rare traits that most people don't possess. Traits that separate you from the masses. Traits that make you powerful in ways large social circles never could. 500 years ago, Machiavelli understood something most people still don't get. Quality beats quantity in everything, especially relationships. The powerful don't have hundreds of friends. They have a few trusted allies. The weak collect friends like trophies to prove they're liked. The strong are selective because they understand that most people add nothing to your life. Having few friends isn't a bug. It's a feature of people who think differently than the masses. Today I'm showing you the 5 rare traits you possess if you have few or no friends. These aren't flaws. These are strengths that set you apart. Strengths that most people lack. Strengths that explain why you're different and why being different is actually better. If you're tired of feeling broken for not having a huge social circle, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel doesn't teach you to fit in. We show you why not fitting in makes you stronger. Before we start, drop this in the comments. I choose quality over quantity in everything. Let's begin with the first rare trait. Trait number 1. You have exceptionally high standards. Most people collect friends easily because they have low standards. They'll befriend anyone who's nice to them, anyone who shares basic interests, anyone who's available. Their criteria for friendship is simple. Do they tolerate me? Good enough. Friend acquired. This creates large social circles full of shallow connections that provide nothing real. You're different. You don't befriend people just because they're available or nice or share surface interests. You have actual standards. You need depth, intelligence, authenticity, shared values, real conversations, mutual respect. These standards eliminate 95% of people immediately. Not because 95% are bad people, because 95% don't meet your specific criteria for what friendship means to you. This is rare. Most people are so desperate for connection, they'll lower standards to have friends. They'd rather have 10 shallow friendships than 0 deep ones. You'd rather have 0 friendships than waste time on shallow ones. This preference for quality over quantity is uncommon. It makes you selective. It makes you appear difficult. It makes you seem antisocial. But it's actually intelligence. Why waste time on connections that provide nothing meaningful? Think about it. The average person's friend group is full of people they don't particularly like, people they tolerate, people they keep around out of habit or obligation, people who drain them, people who never help them grow. Why? Because having friends feels better than having no friends, even when those friends add nothing positive. That's weakness disguised as social success. You reject that weakness. You'd rather have silence than meaningless noise. Your high standards mean you're alone more often. But you're alone because you refuse to accept less than what you want. That's not a flaw, that's integrity, that's knowing your worth, that's refusing to settle for connections that don't serve you. Most people see large friend groups as proof of value. You see large friend groups as proof of low standards. You're probably right. This trait also means when you do make a friend, it's real, it's deep, it's valuable. Because they met standards most people can't meet. That one real friend is worth more than 10 casual friends. And you know it. That's why you're selective. That's why you have few friends. Not because you can't make friends, because you choose not to befriend people who don't meet your standards. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Translation: intelligent people are selective about who they surround themselves with. Your selectivity isn't antisocial, it's intelligent. Quality always beats quantity. Drop this in the comments. My standards eliminate most people. That's a feature, not a bug. Trait number 2. You're extremely self-sufficient. Most people need constant social contact because they can't handle being alone with themselves. They need distraction from their own thoughts, validation from external sources, entertainment from others. They're dependent on social interaction to feel okay. Remove their social circle and they fall apart. This dependency is weakness masquerading as being social. You're different. You're comfortable being alone. You don't need constant company. You can entertain yourself, validate yourself, enjoy your own thoughts. This self-sufficiency is rare. Most people are terrified of solitude. They fill every moment with social media, calls, hangouts, anything to avoid being alone with themselves. You embrace solitude. You prefer it often. This makes you unusual. This makes you appear antisocial. But it's actually strength. Self-sufficient people don't need friends to function. They want quality connections but don't need constant social contact to feel whole. This dramatically reduces the number of friends they maintain. Because they're not driven by desperate need for company. They're driven by selective desire for meaningful connection. Need makes you accept anyone. Want makes you selective. You want good connections. You don't need any connections. That's power. This trait also protects you. People who need social contact are vulnerable to manipulation. They'll tolerate bad treatment to maintain connections. They'll compromise themselves to keep friends. They'll accept disrespect to avoid being alone. You won't, because you're fine alone. You don't need their company enough to accept their disrespect. This makes you difficult to manipulate through social pressure. This makes you appear cold. But it's actually self-protection through self-sufficiency. Your comfort with solitude also gives you advantages most people don't have. You can think deeply without needing external input. You can make decisions without social validation. You can pursue interests without needing companions. You can be productive without social distractions. All of this makes you more effective, more focused, more independent. These are strengths, not weaknesses. The world tells you that enjoying solitude means something's wrong with you. The world is wrong. Enjoying solitude means you're complete without constant external validation. That's rare. That's powerful. That's why you have few friends. Not because you're broken, because you don't need what most people desperately need. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But even better is to be self-sufficient enough that you need neither. You have that. You're complete alone. Friends are optional additions, not necessary components. That's strength most people never develop. Drop this in the comments. I'm complete alone. Friends are bonuses, not requirements." Trait number 3. You see through social games immediately. Most people play social games without realizing it. The small talk, the fake interest, the performative friendship, the strategic niceness, the carefully crafted image, the virtue signaling, the status seeking, all of it is games, performance, masks. And most people are either playing these games or falling for them. You do neither. You see through it all. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This awareness kills your interest in most social interactions. You're not antisocial. You're just aware. You see that most conversations are meaningless exchanges of pleasantries. You see that most friendships are transactional. You see that most social behavior is performance designed to create specific impressions. You see the manipulation, the fakeness, the games. And you're not interested in participating. This awareness makes socializing exhausting for you while it's enjoyable for people who don't see what you see. This is why you struggle to maintain friendships most people maintain easily. They don't see the game so they can play along innocently. You see the game so participating feels dishonest. They can do small talk because they don't realize it's meaningless. You can't do small talk because you see it's pointless. They can maintain surface friendships because surface is enough for them. You can't because you see how shallow it is. Your awareness also means you spot fake people immediately. Most people take months or years to realize someone is using them. In one conversation, you see the patterns, the manipulations, the self-interest disguised as friendship. This makes you reject people most people would befriend. Not because you're judgmental, because you're perceptive, and what you perceive isn't worth your time. This trait isolates you, because once you see how much of social interaction is performance, you can't enjoy it the same way. You're watching people perform while they think they're connecting. You're seeing manipulation while they think they're socializing. You're aware of games while they're playing games. This awareness separates you, makes you feel alien, makes you prefer solitude over participating in social theater. But this awareness also protects you. You don't get used by fake friends. You don't waste time on shallow connections. You don't get manipulated by social pressure. You don't fall for performances. These are massive advantages. The price is loneliness sometimes. But the protection is worth it. Better alone and aware than surrounded and deceived. Most people choose the comfort of ignorance. They'd rather not see the games because seeing them makes socializing harder. You don't have that option. You see it all. This makes you selective. This makes you appear antisocial. But it's actually clarity most people lack. Use it. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." You see both. You see the appearance and the reality. That's rare. That's why you're alone. Because you refuse to pretend you don't see what you see. If you see through social games, hit that like button right now. Drop this in the comments. I see the games I refuse to play. Trait number 4. You prioritize depth over breadth. Most people spread themselves thin across many shallow relationships. They have work friends, gym friends, weekend friends, online friends. Dozens of connections. None of them deep. None of them real. None of them there when it matters. But the quantity makes them feel popular, feel connected, feel successful socially. It's an illusion. Breadth without depth is just collecting acquaintances and calling them friends. You're different. You'd rather have one deep connection than 10 shallow ones. You'd rather know someone completely than know many people superficially. You'd rather have one person you can call at 3 a.m. than 20 people you can get drinks with. This preference for depth eliminates most potential friendships, because most people only want surface connection. They want fun, not depth. They want entertainment, not authenticity. They want easy, not real. Deep connections require time, vulnerability, honesty, effort. Most people aren't willing to invest that. They want instant friendship, quick connection, easy relationships that don't require much. You want the opposite. You want to know someone's fears, dreams, struggles, truths. You want real conversations, not small talk. You want authentic connection, not performed friendship. This takes time and effort most people won't give. So you end up with few friends. Because few people want what you want. They're happy with surface. You need depth. They want many connections. You want few meaningful ones. They're playing a different game than you. They collect friends. You build relationships. Different goals, different results. They have quantity, you have quality. If you have anything at all. But here's what they don't have. They don't have anyone who really knows them. Anyone who truly understands them. Anyone who's actually there when life falls apart. Their 20 friends are unavailable when crisis hits. Your one friend shows up. Because depth creates loyalty, breadth never does. Surface connections evaporate under pressure. Deep connections strengthen under pressure. You chose depth. That choice means few friends. But it also means real friends if you have any. This trait also means you invest heavily in the friendships you do have. You don't spread energy thin. You concentrate it. This makes your few friendships incredibly strong. Unbreakable often. Because you've invested everything. They've invested everything. That's rare. That's valuable. That's what most people never experience because they're too busy maintaining shallow connections to build deep ones. Your preference for depth over breadth explains your small circle. It's not that you can't make friends, it's that you won't make shallow friends. You're waiting for depth, and depth is rare, so you wait alone often. But when you find it, what you build is real. That's worth the wait. That's worth the loneliness. That's worth having few friends instead of many acquaintances. Machiavelli once said, "Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking. But you chose depth over breadth, quality over quantity, real over fake. That's rare. That's why you're alone, because real is hard to find." Drop this in the comments. I choose depth over breadth always. Trait number 5. You're comfortable being misunderstood. Most people need to be understood. They need validation. They need people to get them. They need social approval. This need drives them to explain themselves constantly, to seek acceptance, to modify themselves to be more understandable, to fit in so they're not misunderstood. This need for understanding makes them collect friends who validate them. Remove that validation and they panic. You're different. You're okay being misunderstood. You don't need everyone to get you. You don't need social approval. You don't need validation from others. You're secure enough in yourself that other people's misunderstanding doesn't threaten you. This is incredibly rare. Most people's entire social strategy is built around being understood and accepted. Yours isn't. You're fine if people don't get you. This eliminates the need for most friendships. Think about why most people maintain large friend groups. Validation. They need people to tell them they're okay, they're normal, they're acceptable. Remove that need and the friend group shrinks dramatically. You don't have that need. You know you're okay whether others agree or not. You know you're acceptable whether others validate you or not. This self-assurance means you don't need friends for validation, so you don't maintain friendships built on mutual validation like most people do. This trait also means you don't explain yourself to people who don't matter. Most people waste enormous energy explaining themselves to everyone, justifying their choices, defending their preferences, seeking understanding from people whose understanding means nothing. You don't. If someone doesn't get you and they don't matter, you shrug and move on. No explanation, no justification, no attempt to make them understand. This appears cold. It's actually efficiency. Your comfort being misunderstood also makes you authentic. You don't modify yourself to be more palatable. You don't hide parts of yourself to be more acceptable. You don't perform a version of yourself designed to attract friends. You're just you, unmodified, unperformed, real. This realness repels people looking for performed versions they can relate to, but it attracts rare people looking for authenticity. Quality over quantity again. The world tells you that being misunderstood is painful, that you should seek to be understood. That understanding creates connection, sometimes true, often false. Being misunderstood is only painful if you need understanding. You don't, so misunderstanding doesn't hurt you. It just filters out people who wouldn't get you anyway. That's helpful, not harmful. Your few friends are people who understand you without explanation, who get you naturally, who don't need you to modify or explain or perform. These are rare people, worth waiting for, worth being alone for, worth being misunderstood by everyone else for. Because when you find them, the connection is effortless. No performance required, no explanation needed, just understanding. That's what you waited for. That's what your comfort being misunderstood gave you. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Most people judge you by what they see. Few feel who you really are." You're okay with that. That's power most people never develop. Drop this in the comments. I'm comfortable being misunderstood by most people. You now understand the 5 rare traits explaining why you have few or no friends. High standards that eliminate most people. Self-sufficiency that removes desperate need for company. Awareness that sees through social games. Preference for depth over breadth. Comfort being misunderstood. These aren't flaws. These are strengths. Rare strengths most people don't possess. Strengths that separate you from masses who collect friends like trophies. The world tells you having few friends means something's wrong with you. The world is wrong. Having few friends often means you possess rare traits the masses lack. You have standards they don't have, self-sufficiency they don't have, awareness they don't have, preference for quality they don't have, comfort with being different they don't have. You're not broken, you're rare. And rare things are valuable, not flawed. Stop feeling bad about having few friends. Start recognizing what that actually means. You're selective, you're self-sufficient, you're aware, you're deep, you're authentic. These are strengths. Own them. Use them. Stop trying to be like everyone else with their shallow friend groups. Be you with your few real connections or your comfortable solitude. That's better. Do 3 things right now. Smash that like button if these 5 traits describe you perfectly. Subscribe for more truth that makes you feel less broken. Drop in the comments which trait resonates most with you. You have few friends. Now you know why. Not because you're flawed, because you're rare. Rare is better, rare is powerful, rare is you. Drop this final affirmation. I have few friends because I have rare traits. I am not broken, I am selective.